Hi, everyone. My name is Nadia. I'm an immigration lawyer at Visa Place Legal. We're just going to get started. I just started this live, so I'm going to wait a couple minutes until everybody can join in. And today we're going to be discussing about the new immigration measures for Iranian temporary residents inside of Canada, as well as any other Iranians that this could be impacting or affecting. So I'm just going to let a couple people just join in, and then we'll get started from there. But for anyone who is just joining in, today we are going to be discussing one of the new measures. It was just released yesterday, and it pertains to Iranian temporary residents who are inside of Canada and some pathways for them. So this can be a bit of an information session for anyone who this applies to, anyone you might know. And I'm a lawyer at Visa Place Legal. We're based in Toronto, Ontario, inside of Canada. I'm an immigration lawyer, and this info session is going to be, like I said, this information was just released yesterday from the Minister of Immigration. So we really want to bring this information to anyone this can apply to right away and discuss how we can potentially help you in any future applications. Okay, so hopefully today is going to be effective, productive, helpful more than anything to anyone this applies to. But we are going to be discussing the new measure. So the new measure, again, for anyone who's just coming in, is the new temporary measures for Iranians who are temporary residents inside of Canada. And they are looking for some pathways, whether it's an open work permit, study permit, extending their stay, as well as this is an impact for some permanent residents as well. Okay, so I hope everyone gained something from this, and we're able to help you. We're a law firm inside of Toronto, Ontario, in Canada, and our team of lawyers, consultants, legal assistants are going to be able to guide you through applications like this. And like I said, this measure has just come out yesterday, so we're really trying to give the information and pass this on, help as many people as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Okay, so thanks everyone who's just trickling in and joining in. I see a couple people looking for help in terms of information for Pakistan during this discussion, some driver jobs. We might be able to get to them, and hopefully we'll be able to get through a couple other lives with you guys. But today we're going to focus primarily on the new measures that Canada has announced just this week. So hopefully it's going to impact and assist a couple new clients, new people who are in Canada, a little stuck, a little afraid. And we're a law firm that would be able to help you. Okay. All right, well, thank you guys for slowly coming in and trickling in. I'm wondering where most of our attendees are from. Are you all mostly in Canada? Are you outside of Canada? Let me know. It'll help curtail our live to your specific needs and situation. Okay. All right. Well, for any new people just trickling in, again, my name is Nadia. I'm an immigration lawyer at Visa Place, and what we're going to be discussing today are some pathways to help Iranian temporary residents inside of Canada, based on the new measures announced by IRCC and the Minister of Immigration just yesterday. All right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. I'm just going to start with a brief overview, and I would like to let everyone know who's in this live. This is really an open discussion. I'm going to go into some of the details. I'm going to read what the new instructions and guidelines say, but if you have any questions, if you want me to stop and repeat something, let's keep it an open forum. The point of this is to provide you as much information and support as I possibly can. So feel free to comment as I'm talking. Feel free to ask me to stop or slow down. I'm more than happy to do that. And don't hesitate to ask any questions at all throughout this entire discussion. So I'm going to just begin and tell you a little bit about the instructions that were released, what the program does, and why it was released at all. So for anyone who is wondering, what is this program and what's its significance? As I'm sure a lot of you know, in Iran there was a tragic killing that happened, and since then many more tragic events that took place. So there's been a lot of pressure on the government of Canada to help Iranian people, whether they're inside of Canada, whether they're dual citizens, to provide them some sort of safety or security. So this is what Immigration Canada has come up with. So Minister Sean Fraser, who is the Minister of Immigration inside of Canada, has made this rule to help those who are already inside of Canada. Now, this measure, because this is one of the most common questions I'm getting, seems to be prolonged until at least February of next year. So if you've heard about this measure and you're wondering whether it's going to apply to you in 2 months or 3 months, it seems like so far it will be. It will be in place for at least another year. So that's going to be very excellent for a lot of people who are concerned about their timeline and whether they're visitors who are outside of Canada but are looking to come in by next month and want to obtain an open work permit. But I'll get into details on that and what different scenarios can apply in just a couple minutes. Okay. So essentially, what Minister Sean Fraser has said that he understands that a lot of these temporary residents who are inside of Canada feel uncomfortable returning to Iran at this time, so they're looking to prolong their stay. These measures outlined in the public policy will make it easier for those people who are here as temporary residents to extend their stay, prolong their stay, have some guarantee that they're able to stay here without having to incur additional fees, as well as having to worry about supporting themselves. So, for example, if you are here as a tourist inside of Canada and you need to stay for another 6 months, or you need to stay for another year because you're worried about going back, then you would be able to not only stay in Canada longer, but potentially obtain an open work permit as well. Okay, so it seems to be a really great program, and it's going to allow a lot of people to find the protection that they might need, even if it's just temporary. So one of the questions, and like I said, for anyone new who's just joined in, we're going to be talking about the new measures that Minister Sean Fraser, the Minister of Immigration, has announced for Iranian people inside of Canada. And I have one question here, and like I said, as I'm talking, feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to keep this an open forum. What we're doing today is, as an immigration lawyer that works at Visa Place, I want to be able to provide you guys, if this applies to you, any help, any instruction, and show you how we could potentially help you in applications like this. Okay, so Eliza, sorry, your question, and I appreciate you asking it. What will happen after 1 year? The open work permit would be just 1 year. It's an amazing question, and the reality is we don't really know. My presumption is that the open work permit is going to be valid until February 24th, 2024. That seems to be the end date that they've put, February 2024. I don't know what's going to happen after that 1 year. It's likely just going to be until then, unless they decide to extend it, which they do quite often. So we'll see as it goes on. Now let's talk a little bit more in detail about what this announcement is. So the announcement was made to make it easier for those inside of Canada on a temporary work, study, or visitor visa to apply for an extension or to switch their status to another temporary status. So the applications will also be processed on an expedited and priority basis. Now, if we have any Iranian citizens here who are in this live, and let's say they have a permanent residence application on CEC basis, and they're stuck in a backlog, or they're a federal skilled worker and they're inside of Canada, it seems like all applications will be processed on a priority basis, not just the temporary ones. This is a little bit vague in terms of what the instruction guide says, but because they are not saying the words process temporary applications on a priority basis, it's likely going to impact all Iranian citizens who are inside of Canada and have PR applications in process. Okay. Now, Eliza, you asked, is it possible to apply from PR from visitor visa? So we'll talk about how you can get to PR from this program, which is a really good question as well, because we want to be thinking about things long term and really be able to utilize this program to get its maximum benefit. Okay, so aside from the priority basis and extending your work, study, or visitor, we also have been informed that there's a new open work permit pathway for Iranians already living here. So let's say you're a visitor inside of Canada, or let's say you're a student who finished their studies and you're not eligible for a postgraduate work permit, whatever it may be, where you're a valid, compliant, temporary resident inside of Canada, there is an open work permit pathway that will be available to you. Now, when we say open work permit, what that means is that you're able to work for any employer that you want. You're not tied to one employer. You're not tied to one position, to one knock code. It's open. You can work any way that you'd like to. Okay. There's also a waiving of the processing fees. So as some of you know, when you apply for any form of immigration status, there is a processing fee Immigration Canada charges. So for example, for a visitor visa, it costs $100. For an extension, it costs $100. So those fees have been waived. Okay. The next thing is that it waives passport and permanent resident travel document fees for Canadian citizens and Canadian permanent residents who are in Iran and looking to leave. So this seems to be the only part of the eligibility criteria that talks about people outside of Canada. So if you're someone in this live who is an Iranian person in Iran and you're joining in, or if you know a family member who's in Iran and they're looking to come back to Canada and they need a PR travel document or something like that, they do not have to pay the PR travel document fees. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit more in detail. But for anyone new who's joined in, I just want to reiterate what we're doing today. We are talking about a new pathway that has been announced by Minister Sean Fraser, the Minister of Immigration, just yesterday on March 1st, about a pathway for temporary residents inside of Canada. And these temporary residents are either able to extend their status, they're either able to obtain an open work permit, or just benefit from lack of processing fees in certain applications and priority of processing of their pre-existing applications. Okay. So my name's Nadia. I'm an immigration lawyer at Visa Place, and what we'll be discussing today is how we can help you with this program and what other options you potentially have long term. Okay. All right. So let's go into a little bit more detail. And as I'm going along, especially as we get more detailed, feel free to chat and ask me to slow down or stop or repeat something if it was a little bit confusing. Okay. So beginning March 1st, as I mentioned, as this program is already good to go, people can apply for it. It's officially open. They'll be able to obtain limited validity Canadian passports. That's a mouthful. Limited validity Canadian passports. So what that means is if you're a Canadian citizen living in Iran and your passport's expired, or if you need a way to get back to Canada, limited validity Canadian passports are available to you. Canadian citizenship certificates will be issued on a priority basis, and PR travel documents will also be issued on a priority basis with no additional fees. Okay. Now, something important to note with this public policy is that you do need to follow basic compliance. And what that means is if you're an Iranian person inside of Canada and you have a criminal record, or you are out of status, or you've done anything that kind of goes against immigration laws and regulations, then it likely might not be an option for you, because in the instruction guide, it does request for you to follow the generic Immigration Refugee Protection Act regulations and make sure that you are always compliant with being a temporary resident. Okay, in easier terms, what that means is you can't really break any rules and also expect to be a part of this program, unfortunately. You do need to be in valid status following proper immigration laws, and then this way the program will be fully available to you. Okay. So Eliza, you asked a follow-up question. If there's any assistance for Iranians outside of Canada who don't have a visa yet. So based off this regulation, it does seem like you're going to have priority processing. But aside from that, I don't see any additional benefit. It's mostly supposed to be targeting people who either already have a visa and are able to come to Canada within the next year, or people already inside of Canada. Outside of Canada, aside from the PR and citizenship benefits I mentioned, I can only see priority processing being the benefit there. Okay. All right. So any other admissibility or selection criteria, like I mentioned, when it comes to open work permits or temporary processing, those all need to be followed. There's no exemption to that, unfortunately. But if you do have any inadmissibility questions, so let's say you're an Iranian person inside of Canada and you do have a criminal record or you are out of status, if you contact our firm at Visa Place Legal, we can still help you. I really want to catch myself on shutting the door on someone who might have some issues and maybe is not able to apply under this program because of non-compliance. Try not to worry about it. Feel free to reach out to us. There are pathways. And that applies to whether you are Iranian or not. Just speaking generally, if you have any issues with admissibility or maybe not following immigration laws or regulations, feel free to contact us because there are pathways for you, both within this program we're talking about today, as well as outside of it. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about just some general mentions about how this program is going to help Canadians and Iranians. Right now, it seems like we have over in Canada 21,000 Iranian students. So if you're an Iranian student and you're one of the many who are a little bit stressed about going back, about your program ending, and maybe you're not eligible for a postgraduate work permit, or maybe you're worried about whether it's going to be approved, this program is going to help you. It's going to help prioritize your work permit application and also potentially provide you a work permit option that you might not have had previously. Okay. Now, inside of Canada, we have over 200,000 people who are of Iranian origin. So there's potentially a lot of family members that are here either as visitors, visiting, studying, working, and all of these will be impacted and feel a benefit to those people as well. Okay. Now, what's the benefit of an open work permit? I mean, realistically, there's no exception to this. You can imagine getting an open work permit out of this program is going to be the biggest benefit of the entire public policy. So as I mentioned, for anyone new that's just joined in, an open work permit is a work permit which doesn't tie you to a single employer or location. So if you're a foreign national, if you're an Iranian citizen, and you have a valid open work permit, you can work for multiple employers, you can work at multiple locations, you can work for multiple durations, all of that is fine. Okay, so you don't need an LMIA, you don't need a job offer, you don't need an employer to sponsor you, which is wonderful. Now, open work permits are highly sought after specifically for this freedom that they give to holders. And it also will impact and assist you in a long-term goal of obtaining permanent residency. So if you are a worker inside of Canada and you hold an open work permit, by obtaining a skilled worker position, you have the ability to apply for Canadian Experience Class after 1 year of high skilled work experience. So this is the long-term goal. If you're an Iranian citizen inside of Canada and you fall under this public policy, try to think about what long-term benefit you're going to get from it, because this is an excellent policy that's going to allow you permanent residency pathway that you might not have been able to obtain otherwise. So let's say you do apply for this open work permit. My suggestion would probably be to try to find a skilled worker position that is full-time and that will last you about 12 months, because from there you will be eligible for permanent residence on Canadian Experience Class. So that is really the long-term benefit, long-term pathway for a lot of people. And it's going to be an excellent resource. And I know a year seems a long time, but really this is a work in progress to get permanent residency inside of Canada. And there's a really easy pathway before us based off this new instruction guide. Okay. All right, so that's essentially the gist. And for anyone who's kind of just joined in the last 5-10 minutes, what we talked about today is the new pathway for Iranian temporary residents inside of Canada, announced by Minister Sean Fraser, the Minister of Immigration, to see how they can benefit from this program that was announced. Okay, so my name is Nadia, and I'm an immigration lawyer at Visa Place. If you are someone who is this public policy will impact and will benefit, please don't hesitate to reach out to our firm, Visa Place Legal, which you can find us at visaplace.com, and we will be able to help you under this public policy. The public policy is going to be an excellent resource for Iranian temporary residents, whether you're a visitor inside of Canada, you're looking to just extend your stay, or you need to get an open work permit because you might have some fear of return. This is the pathway for you, and our firm would be happy and able to help you in a pathway like this. Okay, so that's essentially the gist of it. If you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to send us a note for a consultation at visaplace.com. Myself, I can speak Farsi, so if there are any Iranian people who are joining in this Facebook Live, feel free to send me an email directly, and we'd be more than happy to assist you in these types of applications. My email is Nadia, Nadia, letter B for Bob, at visaplace.com. So again, that's Nadia B at visaplace.com. And if you're looking for a general consultation outside of what we discussed today, feel free to contact us at visaplace.com, and we'd be happy to set up a consultation for you. For anyone who's joined in today, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining in. I sincerely hope that with this public policy, we're able to assist anyone who might need assistance to find safety, protection, or at least some stability for the next year, whether that's extending your visitor stay, applying for an open work permit, or just benefiting from priority processing. So our team at Visa Place would be more than happy to help you, and feel free to send us an email or get in touch for a consultation at any time. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to have more lives in the future. I know there were a couple questions that want more general questions. I'm more than happy to go through those in a different live. Thank you guys so much for your time. Just look into the comment section. Would be able to schedule a consultation for you. Right now, we have a code going around, VN25, for 25% off consultations. So if you have a more general question, feel free to get in touch with us about that, whether it's myself, whether it's our team of really dedicated consultants. And we'd be more than happy to assist you in any of your immigration matters. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Hopefully, I'll chat with you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.